Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. All right, first up, D&D news. At the time of recording this, I have no D&D news for you because technically I'm recording it on Thursday night because I'm about to drive across state lines and I won't be anywhere near any of my stuff. So I don't have any D&D news for you. I don't think that's going to change, but who knows? It might. Moving on to streams for this weekend / Friday. On Friday at 11:30 p.m. on twitch.tv/DND, we have Acquisitions Incorporated at 11:30 p.m. I think I said 11:30 already. We also have on twitch.tv/Chromatic Dice happening on Friday at 8:30 p.m. That's a bunch of different TikTok people who do D&D stuff. If you want to check them out, they've just started their campaign, I think, a couple weeks ago, so they're pretty early on in it yet. On Saturday at twitch.tv/DND, we have at 4:30 p.m. Let's Get Wildmount, and on the same channel at 7 p.m. we have Trace Albus. Then on Sunday at 7 p.m. we have D4 on twitch.tv/DND, and I don't know exactly where they're going to be posting it, but another person on TikTok at Critical Fail, Fayle, is launching a recording of their Curse of Strahd campaign on Halloween. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, but it's going to be in podcast form, I'm pretty sure. So if you go to at Critical Fail on TikTok, that's again Fayle for the username. There should be a link in their bio, I'm assuming. Now moving on to T&D today, because it is the last day before Halloween in this weird sphere that we're doing stuff in here. I have my Help It's again because it's got a creepy font on it, as well as the creepity tree and the little hand right here. Seems appropriate. Don't know if it actually is or not, but that's what we're going with. I am having a Monk's Blend loose leaf tea. It's really, really good, and I'm going to need the little bit of caffeine that it's got so that I don't fall asleep while I'm driving across state lines. But that is everything for that. Quick reminder that through Sunday, I guess Monday is the end date, so through Sunday, all new pledges on my Patreon are, as well as the full payout at the end of the month of October, are going to be matched by me and then donated to the Trevor Project, which is a really phenomenal LGBTQ crisis hotline for youths. And I really like the work that they do, and I think that you should support them if you don't directly support me by doing that as well. There's a link in the description of this video for you to check them out if you want to learn more about them. That is in honor of Spirit Day, which was on the third Thursday of this month, which is all about anti-bullying for LGBTQ youths in schools, etc. So, again, link to that also in the description. Check it out. It's pretty cool. But getting into why everyone is here today, we are talking about Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. I am so excited for this one. This is the single book that I've been most excited for, I think, since I've started playing D&D, which is saying quite a bit because I own all of them. I own literally all of them, and I am so pumped about this one and to get to talk about it. The hype was real for me on this one being released, and so I'm really excited that it is actually here and that I'm holding it and that I get to talk to you guys about it today. So review it. It's weird to review because it is largely a monster stat block book. However, they do have some good stuff leading up to that point, because actually the bestiary starts about 2/3 of the way through the book, maybe a little bit shy of that, but not quite half, is where you actually get into the stat blocks of everything. However, leading up to that point, the first 3/4 of it are all about like constructing dragons into the stat blocks of the dragons, which is super cool. But first, let's talk real quick about character options that we get in here, because they are pretty awesome. They're exactly what we expected them to be. We get the different Dragonborn sub-races, as well as the subclasses for Monk and Ranger, Way of the Ascendant Dragon, and the Drake Warden. All of that seems pretty much exactly how it was in the Unearthed Arcana, so I don't think they changed anything from that, unless I'm missing something, but even if so, it's pretty small, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. If you are using that sort of thing already in your campaign, you're probably not going to have to change a whole lot if you want to switch to the new official setup here. They tell you a little bit about Heroes of the Dragon, and they give you a couple of feats, which are pretty cool. Or they don't give you feats. You have the option to take a couple of feats based on dragon stuff. Moving past that, we have Draconic Magic. Again, a lot of these are what came out in that Unearthed Arcana. They have not changed a whole lot, so they're still pretty good, and they're still pretty cool. I definitely recommend checking those out if you have not already. They also have a section about magic items, and specifically horde magic items, which is awesome because a lot of times the questions that I have gotten when I'm talking about dragons is how do you build a dragon's horde? How do you do, that sort of thing? And they definitely cover that in here. Moving forward into the third chapter of the book. This is where I think the book really starts to take off. I think that something that was lacking in D&D, at least 5th edition, so largely was the actual personification and the actual implementation of one of the titular monsters of the game. Or I guess the titular monster, because dungeons are not necessarily monsters all the time, though I have heard of people running entire dungeons that were just mimics. So you didn't hear that from me. Chapter 3 is all about dragons in play. They have a section on role-playing dragons, so that's really great for the DM. In that, they have dragon characters, lifespan, reproduction of dragons, death of dragons, undeath of dragons, how they echo across the worlds, the gods and religion, shape-shifting, different organizations for dragons, and how they might set up their organizations, their followers, and how the ranks of followers operate. Building encounters around dragons, building adventures around dragons, building campaigns around dragons. All of this stuff that ranges everywhere from, as I mentioned, how long dragons live to building full campaigns around dragons is covered over the course of 30 pages, which is quite a bit of real estate, honestly, in this book. And it's honestly phenomenal. It really just is. They do such a great job of talking about all this stuff. I can't really pick out a specific part that I think is going to be the best part to highlight that section. So if you have this book, I recommend actually paging through that, seeing if anything sticks out to you, if you're not just going to read it outright like I did. Moving forward to chapter 4, this is yet another place where I think the book really sort of shines. Layers and hordes. And this one I want to pause on just a little bit longer because it is genuinely really, really cool. In Layers and Hordes, they talk about the power of hordes. They talk about curses that might be on hordes. They talk about the different kinds of treasure in there. They talk about creating a horde. They talk about making the horde essentially its own personalized thing to a dragon, why that dragon has that horde specifically, which is awesome. And if you guys have watched any of my other dragon videos, you know that there are specific things that certain dragons collect, and they talk about that in here, in addition to at the point where they actually talk about that with the dragon stat block, which is beyond cool. And it's really it's fascinating because it's not actually something that I had considered before, right? Actually making the horde into its own entity that can be used as another character, another player in this setting. So it's really, really awesome to see that they dedicated so much real estate to that. Jumping to chapter 5 here. We are in the Draconomicon now. That is not the stat blocks, but it is all about using and creating dragons specifically. This is a lot of mechanical nitty gritty about how you should run these dragons and or tools to help you figure out how to run the dragons. They don't tell you how to do it, but they can just sort of get you there a little bit. Flip forward so I can be on one of these pages just so that I can look at this with you all here. So we're gonna look at blue dragons because that's the one I'm on right now, because why not? They have blue dragons. They have all of these tables for creating blue dragons. Can you spellcast? Can you build an adventure around it? Personality traits, ideals, all of that sort of thing. Moving forward, next page even, You've got connections for each age level of dragon in there. And this is true for every single one of these dragons in this section, which is awesome. They've got, connections from Wormling all the way up through Ancient Dragons. And then they talk about the layers and the features of the layers, because each of the dragons also comes with an example map of the layer that they might be living in, with a couple of different labels in here, like an entrance chamber, a horde display, and a couple more down here that I suddenly raised the book in front of my own face, so I couldn't read. They talk about entrance chamber, horde display, the den of the actual dragon, private entrance, the treasury, additional layer actions that can be added to the ones that are presented next to the stat block of the dragon later in the book, additional regional effects of these dragons, treasures that these dragons might keep, like art objects, and stuff like that. So that is really, really, really cool. And again, moving on, brass dragons, all the same stuff. It is packed with this stuff to help you flesh out and use dragons in your game so that they are more than just giant flying meat machines, essentially, which is a really weird way to think about a dragon. And there's so much, it's so hefty. Like, I believe this section is like 75 pages long. Let me confirm that here. Let's see. 75 to 153. Yeah, 75 pages long as you go through all of them. That includes all of the chromatic, all of the metallic, all of the gem, plus moonstone, dragon turtles, deep dragons, fairy dragons, all of those like adjacent ones that might have their own layers, which is so cool, right? Like the dragon turtles, we didn't have like any lore on them built into the books, so they give you that in here in detail, at the same level of detail as every other dragon in the book, which is phenomenal. And then, of course, we get to the real star of the book. There was no like runaway. All of it leading up to this point is phenomenal. But how are you going to top another 75 pages of pure draconic stat block all the way through, right? Like that has to be the star of the show in this book. That's so phenomenal. And I mentioned in my first look video, they give you aspects of Tiamat and Bahamut. They give you access to the great worms and the things that they can do, which are earth-shattering, essentially. Full stat blocks for all of your different gem dragons, all of your different chromatic dragons, all of your different metallic dragons. Things like deep dragons get their own full run, Wormling to Ancient. Same with... there was another one in here that I really wanted to talk about. I don't remember what it was. Oh, well. But then you've got dragon adjacent things, too. You've got your egg hunters. You've got animated breath. You've got draconian, like, followers. You've got dragon blood ooze, dragonborn golems, dragonborn champions, dragon followers, sea serpents, dragon turtles, a lion drake, which is just a wild looking thing. I'm actually going to flip to that page to show us that thing. Page 207. You've got a horde mimic, which is ludicrous. You've got a horde scarabs, which are also crazy. We're going to pause here real quick. Just take a look at the deep dragon wormling. That thing is terrifying looking. Like, that's awful to look at, but it's so fun. Here we go. Lion Drake. Next to the Hollow Dragon. So the Hollow Dragon is the fire one, and the Lion Drake is the one that has this weird, like, jackal head on it. Which is, I mean, it's obviously a lion's head, but the way that it's drawn up, it looks like a jackal head. And then I talked in my first look video about how cool and pretty moonstone dragons are. In my video from Wednesday. Look at that. They're gorgeous. They're beyond gorgeous. They're so cool. I mean, the art in this book is amazing as ever, but because it's all dragons, they are all beyond gorgeous, beyond amazing. They've got these metallic sentinels in here that are built in Dragon Magic. It's Here's a good picture of the Horde Scarab. It looks like a gold coin, right? They are CR 1/8. A swarm of them is CR2. But all of those like little adjacent things give you amazing little add-ons that you can add to your different dragons as you are going through and really flesh out sort of like their layers. Maybe the dragon isn't home, but it is filled with scarabs, or they've got a huge section of their horde that is actually a mimic, or something like that. And that right there is the true beauty of this book, I think. That is the end of my like run through of it. I think that if you play Dungeons and Dragons and you like dragons at all, you have a vague love of them even, you need this book. Okay, this genuinely might be my single favorite source book that has ever come out. And don't get me wrong, I am so in love with Tasha's and Xanathar's, which gave us amazing subclass options. But this thing right here gave me like everything I had been wanting about D&D. Like, the other ones filled needs I didn't know I had. This one really just brings it home, and I cannot recommend it enough. I highly recommend getting this book if you are a DM. I highly recommend getting this book if you want to... even if you're like a writer or something who is writing a story with dragons in it, there is so much good stuff that you can pull from in this book. It's amazing. I think it is one of the best works that they have put out in a long time. And that might be a biased opinion, but I get the feeling that is going to be a actually fairly popular one ultimately here. But again, that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making me part of your morning routine. Thank you in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that really make this show possible. So thank you so much for your continued support. Oh, man. Yeah, I believe that is it. Have an awesome weekend, everybody. I will see you guys on Monday. And until then, keep on rolling.